you?
Oh, I'm just going to class.
Oh, okay.
Alright, see you later. Hey Colleen, what you working on there?
I'm just looking at some pictures of JFK.
Oh wow, what a great family.
I know, right? I have to do this crazy NHD project. Want to take a look?
Sure.
Hey, Noah, want to help you with the project? It'll be fun.
Sure thing, Colleen. Where do we start?
Well, let's go down to the Kennedy Center and to learn more about his life.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah! So, before we get there, what do we know about JFK as a leader?
You have arrived at your destination. Your route guidance is now
Wow.
finished.
JFK was one of the most influential leaders due to his leadership during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the space race, and the Peace Corps, carrying out his family legacy as an American icon.
Here we are at the Kennedy Center.
We're going to take you on a journey through the life of John F. Kennedy.
So buckle your seatbelts. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was born on May 19, 1917. He was born in Brookline, Massachusetts, a wealthy suburb of Boston. John, known as Jack to his family members, was the second of 9 children by Rose and Joseph P. Kennedy.
In 1919, young Jack contracts scarlet fever just before his 3rd birthday and was hospitalized for 2 months. On October 1940, on the eve of America's entry into World War II, JFK enlisted in the Navy. His older brother Joe Jr. was already trained to be a Navy pilot. March 6, 1943, after an 8-week training course in Rhode Island, Kennedy was assigned to take command of a patrol boat stationed in the South Pacific. He sailed west from San Francisco but did not arrive at his final destination, the Solomon Islands, for another month and a half. On August 2, 1943, Kennedy's patrol boat, PT-109, collided with Japanese destroyer. 2 of his men were killed instantly. The remaining crew members, including Kennedy himself, were severely injured. John ordered all the men to abandon ship and led them to shore on a nearby island.
On August 12, 1944, Joseph Kennedy Jr., John's older brother, was killed while fighting in Europe. John, the second oldest Kennedy child, was now next in line for political leadership within the powerful Kennedy clan. John F. Kennedy was discharged from the Navy for medical reasons in April of 1945. Kennedy was immediately thrust into politics by his father, who a year earlier was devastated by the death of his older son, Joe Jr. It now fell to John Kennedy to fulfill his father's avowed goal of making one of his sons the first Irish Catholic president of the United States.
In June 1952, John Kennedy's younger brother Bobby became his campaign manager in the 1952 Senate race, starting political partnership between the 2 brothers. In November 1952, largely due to Bobby Kennedy's strategic planning during the campaign, JFK was elected to the United States Senate. On September 12, 1953, JFK married Jacqueline Beauvoir, a young, beautiful journalist from a wealthy New England family. September 26, 1960, JFK and Richard Nixon participated in first ever televised presidential debate.
The Republican candidate, Vice President Richard M. Nixon, and the Democratic candidate, Senator John F. Kennedy. According to rules set by the candidates themselves, each man should...
The Nixon-Kennedy debates would forever change the way Americans chose their presidents. Political rallies and old-fashioned handshaking became much less important than the image on the television screen.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Kennedy,
On November 8, 1960, JFK is elected the 35th President of the United States, defeating his Republican opponent Richard Nixon by a slim margin of only 118,000 votes nationwide.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
On March 1, 1961, JFK established the Peace Corps by executive order. President John F. Kennedy spoke to a crowd on August 28, 1961, about the Peace Corps. After that, more than 5,000 candidates applied to the Peace Corps program.
The goal of the Peace Corps is to help people outside of the United States to understand American culture and helping Americans to understand the cultures of other countries through charitable work, which is generally related to social and economic development. This added the key component of efforts towards world peace to Kennedy's legacy.
So what was going on at this time, there was something called the Cold War. So a hot war is when two countries or multiple countries are actually shooting at each other. That's called a hot war. But a Cold War is that the diplomatic relationships with the two countries or three countries are very strained. And then in 1961, Khrushchev, who was the head of the Soviet Union and was a big supporter of Castro, Castro allowed him to put missile systems in Cuba. So here you've got these missiles that could very quickly hit the United States, hit Washington, D.C. So this was of real concern.
Throughout the tense, anxious period of the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kennedy tried to ensure Americans of his control of the situation, keeping citizens calm and confident in his decisions. This event promoted Kennedy's legacy as a steward of national security and patriotism in a time of crisis.
The path we have chosen for the present is full of hazards, as all paths are. But it is the one most consistent with our character and courage as a nation and our commitments around the world. The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it. And one path we shall never choose, and that is the path of surrender or submission.
The space race was the legendary competition between two Cold War rivals, the Soviet Union and the United States, for supremacy in space flight capability. Kennedy strived to promote America as the world's leader in space technology.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
These three events drove John F. Kennedy to establishing his legacy as an American legend, an icon, and an undoubted leader. Following his assassination, Americans came together and showed an increase of unity and patriotism. His assassination left him to be remembered as a martyr of freedom and American prosperity.